maybe a little, but not too bad. It's just one of those real life things that has been on my mind that I want to share about and just bounce some ideas around and connect with you guys, my really, really awesome people out there who I've met. A lot of you have really connected with me over other stuff in my life, and I think this is such a big issue for so many people of all kinds that it's something that I just feel like really, really should be talked about in a positive way, if possible. So, so here we are, and I'm ready to talk about food and eating and health and weight. So let's get started. As always, there will be timestamps down in the description box if you want to skip anything. I'll do my best to kind of like segment it into different parts. Okay, so weight has always been a very personal topic, I guess, and in order to talk about it, I am going to talk a little bit about myself, but I'm not going to really dwell on my life because that's not really what this is about. I'm going to try to keep it really streamlined onto the topic rather than giving you another glimpse into my life because I think some of you might really not care and be super bored, which I don't blame you. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Just so you know, though, that's kind of the format. I'm gonna use my own experiences just a little bit to help propel the conversation forward so that there's just some sort of direct line that we're taking. Okay, so please take a moment to get comfortable if you're not. Just relax. I know that this can be a really stress-inducing, intense topic for a lot of people, so just relax. We're just talking like between friends. It's not a big deal. Okay. So throughout my life, I've always had issues with my weight. And when I say issues with my weight, I'm not just talking about my weight fluctuating or having to battle being overweight, which both of those are definitely true. But what I mean with that is that I have a really unhealthy, bad relationship with weight and with health, I guess. Through whatever circumstances were in my life, health was never really a huge conversation topic for me. Not at home, not at school, not with friends, not in a good sense. The only time that I ever heard anyone talk to me about food or weight or body image or anything that clearly was not on my mind as a child, it was always in a negative, criticizing and scary kind of way. I don't recall ever having a conversation that talked about, well, what is food and why do we eat it and what are calories and what is the evolution of food and what does the human body really need and why do I want more than that. So without any of that kind of knowledge, a lot of us, the first time that really thrust into the world of weight is because people around us, usually older people, are talking about weight in a negative way. So that's another thing. You know, this doesn't just have to be a reflection if you have children now and you feel like you might repeat a cycle that runs through your family, dealing with weight, dealing with health. This is a good time for you to be conscious of that and just realize, you know, do I put myself down around my children? Do I talk negatively about body image and weight? Do I make fun of or criticize or point out things even about other people that has some sort of negative impression to do with weight? Okay, and as I get to this point, I'm worried that some of the people out there on the internet might start thinking that I'm going to try to turn this into like a body positivity campaign, and I'm not. I don't feel particularly tied to any sort of positivity movement, and I've actually struggled a lot with understanding that perspective, even, which is stuff that I'll talk about a little bit more here in a minute. So I just want to say that this isn't going to turn into me saying to love yourself at any size or whatever. I mean, that part is true, but I'm not promoting unhealth. I'm not promoting anything to do with weight whatsoever. I'm promoting like healthy thinking. That's really like the main thing that is my goal of this whole video. So also try to keep that in mind when I'm talking, that none of this is through that lens. It's through my own very specific lens, and I think that each of you needs to create your own specific lens, and that's what I've been doing lately that has been working for me. So that will be the end of the sort of discussion, I guess, is talking about like what's changed and what I'm doing now. So anyhow, I'm jumping back to childhood. A lot of the times that weight came into my life as a thing, it was always negative, and that happened from the time that I was really, really, really young, because I used to always have to rehear a story being told from when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old, very, very young. And I was in the grocery store with my mom, and we were going down one of the aisles, and I guess I was in the cart, and I saw for the first time in my life, to that point, a very obese person, a woman who was, I don't know if she was walking in a scooter or pushing a cart. I have no idea, because I don't have any recollection of this incident aside from what I've imagined upon being told the story as an adult. But apparently I pointed and said like, "Mommy, why is she so fat?" or something like that, you know, like I very clearly, to where she could hear me, called her fat. And it's weird to me now looking back that when I was 4 or 5, I had this concept in my head that that was wrong already. I shouldn't say wrong. It's unhealthy, and it's not doing anything good for your life or for your mobility or for your longevity, and I understand that, but I was criticizing and judging at like 4, some stranger, unprompted. Nobody was like, "Oh, you know, look at her," or anything, but they must have done stuff like that before that point in time, or else I don't think that I would have been outspoken about that. I've always been very outspoken, so it doesn't surprise me that I cut right to the point and asked what I meant. That part is very much me. But judging this person as a kid makes me see how far back all of this really went in my mind with the weight. And I'm going to show you guys a few pictures for this next little part, because I just want to get my point across, okay? So these are pictures from my childhood. So after that grocery store incident, this was me in kindergarten. This is actually what I'm holding, is my laminated kindergarten attendance pass. I still have it. So whenever I would come in for school face, and that was my school picture that year. And you can see why I haven't had bangs since that age. My parents thought that they could cut my hair for some reason, or my dad more specifically thought he knew how to cut hair, and that was not the business. I look like, golly, I mean, not only are those bangs making me look like I have a serious mullet, I'm also in some sort of like pilgrim outfit. I don't know what's going on in that picture, but my point of showing you that is to say that I wasn't particularly like an obese, child. I was a pretty average sized child. I have always had chubby cheeks. I've always had extra baby fat on my cheeks, and a lot more of it when I was younger, but I wasn't fat. Okay, so that was kindergarten. This was 5th grade. Okay, the picture's crooked, so I apologize for that. But let's see. Doesn't have the date on here, but this was what I wore for my 5th grade graduation, which is kind of silly, but we had a little ceremony, and yeah, so you can see, like, I'm not particularly overweight even here. And if you're wondering, yes, my hair is in like twisted kind of cornrows. I was 10 and I didn't know that cultural appropriation was a thing, and growing up, I guess I always kind of leaned towards what now would definitely be called like black girl style. It obviously wasn't intentional. I was just wearing the things that I liked and I thought were cool, and I I mean, I still do. I like it if someone else has it, or if I have it. I like having like your hair pulled back like that. It's so easy to wear. I kept my hair like this for like 2 weeks and just washed the rest and let it dry, and it's like the easiest freaking hairstyle. So I'm kind of sad that I can't do that anymore, but okay, so back to the weight. Fairly skinny still, right? Like nothing that you'd be like, oh god, what's wrong with that kid? But by the point in time that this picture was taken, already I had been told to kill myself. I had been told that I was a beached whale. I had been called fat by multiple people in my class, who were, I mean, thinner than me, smaller than me, but just bullies. Okay, so I mean, that's an 11 or 10-year-old girl. Like, it's really sad to look back and think that by the time I was just this little child, people had already put these ideas in my head of bad, unhealthy body image. Being overweight is bad, but also being me was bad. Being my size was bad. Which, when I look back now, I'm like, why? Why me? And maybe it was a combination of other things. Maybe I was too quirky, or maybe it was because of what I wore. Maybe it was because of my personality. I don't know if I deserved those things necessarily, but I never learned to deal with them, and I never really got over them. I just kind of like internalized it and was like, okay, there's something intrinsically wrong with me. Physically, my body is not okay. My peers are telling me that I don't belong, that I need to change, and that really hurt. And I would go home and cry and feel terrible and want to be different, but again, I had no concept of the idea of like exercise or how to eat. I was exercising a lot. I played basketball, soccer, hockey, you name it, I did it. And it was fun. I had a good time. I was always very active. Growing up, I played outside like 98% of it's not that I was an unhealthy child. I wasn't just slugging around and eating potato chips. I've always liked fruits and vegetables. I used to drink V8 juice when I was a kid. I mean, anything healthy has never scared me. I've never been against any foods except seafood. That's the only thing that I just refuse to eat. But everything else, like, I'm a really good eater. Okay, so like a day after, maybe even the same day that photo was taken, but probably I think a day after, I had a pool party for the graduating class, but just the girls, and I got this two-piece bikini. It was a Speedo, but it was almost like a, I don't know if I would call it a bikini, because it covered like almost all of the upper torso. There was just like midriff showing, like 3 inches where the bottoms and the tops separated. Again, I'm 10 years old here, so why are we even judging me at that age? But I always think about this picture. I always have this picture in the back of my mind when I think back, because this is me. I'm eating a little cheeseburger at the pool party, and I have on that little Speedo top and bottom. And shortly after this picture, I remember that I was forced to put on a t-shirt again as a cover-up when everyone else was just chilling in their bathing suit, and it was no big deal. So that might sound just like a little bratty thing, like, oh, okay, yeah, you wanted to wear the two-piece, your parents didn't want you to, that's their choice, you're the kid. Maybe to a point, yeah, sure, I get that, I can respect that. But you also have to understand that kids aren't stupid. They're very impressionable, they're very smart, and they're very more intuitive. They're much more intuitive than you would imagine. So when people are telling me that I need to cover up, I'm big girl. And then I'm hearing at school, you're too fat. And then I'm hearing from my mom, you're too fat to wear that bikini. I'm not gonna let you do that. You just start to think like, oh God, something really is wrong with me. Like, it's coming from everyone I know now. Everyone in my sphere is telling me that I'm wrong and I'm bad and I'm fat. So that really gets into your head, and eventually you're just like, okay, whatever, like, I guess this is just my burden. But I took it really personally. I didn't like how it felt at all. I went from thinking that I was just as viable as every other person on the planet to thinking that boys weren't gonna like me, girls weren't gonna like me, I wasn't gonna be able to make friends, I was always gonna get picked last, I was gonna get teased and mocked and tortured for being overweight when I very clearly wasn't overweight. It just makes such a lasting impression though. And then just to show you, how it kind of turned. So this was 6th grade, and I know I'm like a major fashionista, but we were at a sleepover, so I'm in pajamas actually. And these hats were like so popular at the time. And I've got my, big ol' hoops on too, because like I said, I was definitely into all that kind of stuff. Still am, I just hide it. This next picture is like kind of for comparison, I guess, too. This is a picture of me and one of my good friends from the 8th grade. I haven't talked to her really since, but at the time we were really good friends, and she was certainly like the skinniest girl in our class. So here's me. I'm putting my finger over her face just in case. And so I'm in the black dress next to her there. And again, like, if you compare our body sizes, I really don't feel like I'm tragically larger. I've always had, not always, but I ended up with a curvier bottom half. And I think my backside probably developed quicker and more full than other girls in my class, so maybe that was part of what made me look visually bigger, is that from the waist down I've always been like more of like a tree than a flower, I guess. But now that's what's in, so I guess that kind of worked out. But at the time, that was like not a cool thing at all to have a big butt or big thighs. It was like that meant you were fat. It was an insult to tell someone that they had a booty in the 90s when I was growing up. So, you know, that was kind of the like constant barrage that was going on around me about how you were supposed to look. And then like all of the popular sitcoms were just filled with like typically white men and women who were also very thin, very good looking. So I'm starting to get exposed to like all this stuff, and then like MTV music videos started getting more risque and like exposing more of women's bodies, and they were always like perfect, and I was always just like, why can't I be like that? Why not me? Why not me? And that kind of monologue just like stayed and got bigger and bigger. This is actually a picture of me, and I think this is 8th grade summer maybe. This is with Gino Oriama, who is the head coach of the Connecticut women's basketball team, the Yukon Huskies. I grew up in Connecticut, for most of you know that by now, and I went to a basketball camp over the summer for 2 summers. That was, you were like training with the Huskies essentially, but there was like hundreds of girls, so you only got a little bit of one-on-one time with like players, and of course Gino was just lining up for pictures. It's not like we got to have a conversation, but he was like my idol. And the Huskies were my team. I was really big into all of that. But that was like that picture I picked because it was almost right before we moved, and I was happy and positive. The only thing that was really weighing me down was people telling me I was fat and ugly. And when we moved and I got super depressed, I actually did put on like 30 pounds in a couple months. And then I was obese according to medical standards. So this was like kind of as I was starting to put on the weight. Okay, I was already like very gothic punk rock kind of, but I started wearing things that were like looser, and you see I've got my shirt that's just baggy and not tucked in and everything because I was worried that I was gonna look fat. Sorry about that, my camera decided to do something wonky. I a little bit lost my train of thought, but my point just of that whole thing, and we'll just keep moving forward, is that throughout my childhood, before I had really put on any weight to be medically deemed overweight, even, not just fat, obese, whatever you want to call it, but just even overweight, I was, 14 or 15, 16, when all of that really started happening. And by that point, it became like a spiral, because it was like, okay, I was already fat. I wasn't, but in my head, I was like, I was already fat. Now I have to deal with the fact that I've put on 30 extra pounds, and then 30 turned into 50. And by the time I was like a junior in high school or something, I was a big girl. Not, again, like, there were still plenty of girls who were bigger than me, and plenty of girls who would have looked at me and probably called me skinny. But I'm only 5'3" now, and I was like 5 foot even for the majority of high school. So when you weigh like 180 pounds and you're 5 foot tall, I mean, it looks way bigger than than it would look if it was on a 6 foot tall person. Even 10 pounds looks like a lot on me because I'm shorter and smaller, so there's just less room for it to go. I just grow outward. So I got even more depressed, and then it was like all of those negative food eating habits that I had picked up growing up, but they really didn't affect me yet, because I could get away with it because of all the activity I was doing and stuff. Now that was like a problem. I was eating fast food all the time, and I was never exercising. My family moved into the middle of nowhere, so I didn't have friends, I didn't have play dates, I didn't have neighborhood, I didn't have people. There was not another driveway within walking distance of my driveway. So when I'm by myself, don't have anyone to play with, and I'm not comfortable trying out for sports at my new school because I'm overweight now and all this, I was like, okay. So I just started playing World of Warcraft, and I never looked back, and I just kept putting on weight. And over the course of freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year, you can put on a lot of weight and get really unhealthy. So I was doing all of the things that we all do, and I say this now because I know that I'm gonna probably sound snooty when I start talking about now and how I feel and what I feel about food now. So let me just say that at the time I was eating everything. I grew up in a household that didn't allow sweets, in terms of no chocolate and no food coloring and no caffeine. So no soda unless it was like Sprite, no fruit by the foot, no fruit roll-ups, no Reese's Puffs, no Snickers, no candy on Halloween, no candy on Easter. We didn't get to eat sweets. So naturally, as soon as I'm like free as a bird and I have the opportunity to try these things without parental supervision, when I was younger, even at school, I would say, no, I can't eat that, I'm not allowed to. But as I got older, I was like, what's the big deal? Can I have some? But then I had some and I wanted all, probably partially because I had never had any of that stuff before, and it tasted really good, and it was firing all these signals in my brain to say, like, this is delicious, let's keep eating this. And I didn't make the connection that, like, hey, if you eat 6 bags of peanut M&Ms, even though you only had this much M&Ms, you actually had like 1,000 calories, because one bag of M&Ms is like 360 calories. One bar of chocolate candy is usually anywhere from 250 to 350 calories, and it's like this much food. If you don't know much about calories, 1,000 calories can get you a cheeseburger. It can get you like, I don't know, 10 bags of popcorn, like full store bought bags. Like, it's a lot of food, it's a lot of calories. So to me, in my head, I was just like, look, I ate this much stuff, I haven't had that much today, so I would eat like candy or non-filling things. Like, I would eat oatmeal cream pies and honey buns, and I love all of that stuff. Some people say, like, oh, I don't have a sweet tooth, or oh, I only like sour stuff. I will take it all. I'll eat it, okay? Only thing I can't really eat is like really fruity type stuff. So I ate so much, and I just never thought in my head that eating this many M&Ms means, hey, really though, like, now you have to go run 6 miles because you ate 6 miles worth of freaking M&Ms and it didn't do anything for you. But I didn't know in my head at the time that that was bad, or how bad it was, I guess. I just kind of was like, why am I not losing weight? Why am I overweight? Especially if I would, like, this was my favorite thing to do, was to go like 1 or 2 days depriving myself. So like I would want something. This is what I mean by depriving myself, and tell me if you do this too. I'm the master at like playing games with myself when it comes to food and exercise, in a bad way. So I would play this kind of game where I would want something really badly, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right before dinner or something, and I would be like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna hold off. I'm doing this. Like, I'm strong. I'm not gonna eat that. I have willpower. Okay, and the next day I would be like, yeah, but yesterday I was gonna eat a peanut butter and jelly, and I didn't. And the day before that I was gonna have a Diet Coke, and I didn't. So obviously today I should be able to have 6 slices of pizza. And then I'd be like, I'm so hungry from not eating that one thing. Now I need to eat a bunch more stuff. So that's kind of where everything really started hitting the fan. On top of all of this weirdness going on with the food and the health and all that, there was also like a lot of body image stuff in my household that contributed to how I feel about food and weight and body image. They were really conservative about a lot of stuff, which again is fine if it's a parenting choice and all that, but like you also have to educate your children on the reasons, and it can't just be like, oh, people are gonna, look at you. It needs to be things that matter, things that are substantial, things that make sense. And maybe as an adult, my parents didn't know. I mean, they still have these issues, so they might never know, but some adults need to take the time when a child questions and says, why is this like this, or what is happening? If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say like, let me get back to you. Like, hold on, let me find that out. I don't really know. And you can take time to articulate a good lesson to your child about their body. But that was not the environment that I was in, unfortunately, and a lot of people are not in that environment. I really think that today, the parents that are like a part of all of this empowerment and all that, they're the ones who are gonna tell their kids in our generation that they can do and be and whatever they want to do. And they'll have their own parenting, problems. Nobody's perfect, and it's not all the parents' fault. But eventually, you hit that point where you need to make a change for yourself. And it's not easy to do that when you don't have any good information to build that foundation off of. So at least provide the foundation, if nothing else. I think the rest can be learned by oneself. But on top of all of that, my mom has also always been, and I'm not throwing her under the bus or anything, I always feel bad when I talk shade kind of about my parents, because even though I don't talk to them and haven't talked to them in years and don't really care, I still care in the sense that I don't want it to seem like I'm bashing them. They're not evil, horrible people or anything. That's not my place to say. But the facts are that my mom has always been very down about herself as well, and has a lot of body quirks that bother her about herself, even though I would have never in a million years thought about those things. When I look at her, they bother her, and she has never been shy to let that be known, that she doesn't like these things about herself. So my only really female figure in my life is my mom. I wasn't close with any of my aunts or grandmothers or anything like that, and she's over here hating on herself. So eventually she started getting into all these like diets and stuff, and I kind of became like her lab rat, her guinea pig, or like her little buddy, and she would have me do all this stuff with her. I don't know if it was for solidarity or if it was because I needed it in her mind, which was my impression, that she felt like I was fat, so she wanted me to would do this with her, but I do know that maybe she just wanted company and solidarity. Anyway, I loved my mom. I love my mom. I was very, very loyal to her for a very long time, so I did everything that she said, and I went with her, and I went along with all these crazy diets and fads, and like, I mean, we all do them, right? You know, you try these different things, and I don't want to shit on this too hard because I know a lot of people have found success with it, but the Atkins diet currently, or paleo, or whatever, it's whatever version of that kind of thing you do where you just like eat meat and cut out carbs, is really not super healthy for you. I'm not saying it's unhealthy. I'm not saying people don't lose weight. There are plenty of unhealthy ways to lose weight. It does not mean that you're healthy just because you weigh a certain number. That's just not true, and I think that that's becoming more widespread knowledge now, but people often just apply that to like skinny people, saying like, oh, if someone's really thin, then the number on the scale doesn't necessarily mean that they're in shape. But it works all the way around. It doesn't matter who you are or what your body type is like. Hitting a certain number on the scale does not necessitate that you are muscular or fat or thin or whatever words you want to use to describe this vessel that you're in. Okay, so the Atkins is similar. The reason why I brought it up is because it's very similar to one of the diets I went on with my mom. It was this diet where essentially what we would do is all day long, the only things we would eat would be like nuts, meat, nothing with sugar, nothing with carbs, peanut butter, like little pieces of chicken and stuff. And all of that was supposed to like keep you full for longer. And then at night you would have an hour where you could eat whatever you wanted. I don't know if this is really how the diet was supposed to go at the time, or if that was just my mom's modification of it, but that was the thing. It was like a weird take on intermittent fasting, except you weren't fasting, you were just selectively eating throughout the day from certain food groups, and then at night for an hour you could eat whatever you wanted. If you guys ever seen anyone eat an entire tube of cookie dough, raw cookie dough, in like 15 minutes and still have time to eat a bunch more stuff, because I did that like once a week. It wasn't healthy. Like, sure, maybe I lost a little bit of weight, but I didn't feel good and it wasn't good for me. And they're finding out similar things now. The main bottom line is that the body needs balance. But anyway, we'll get to that. Point being, I tried all these different diets, and I even went to this one bariatric lady with my mom, who's allegedly like a celebrity, whatever. And I'm like, what are you doing in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, then, if you're like this amazing doctor? But anyway, she just had like pictures of her and celebrities like all over the walls of her office. It was really tacky, but my mom and I went there, and I went on this stupid program with her where we were getting shots, vitamin shots, like 2 or 3 times a week. We would have to drive to this place. I must have been a little bit older by that point because I was living by myself. So this was after I left home and then reconnected with my mom. So I might have been 18, 19, something like that. And I would drive myself to this little office, and some lady would stick a needle in my butt and give me vitamins and energy and B12 or whatever. And then in the meantime, we would take these pills, these little white pills that were legal cocaine, essentially. I don't know what the hell they were made out of. I really don't know how they were even a legal substance, because these things would have me wired. still concerning weight and all these metaphors and cliches that people talk to you about. You know, they'll be like, skinny feels better than food tastes. No, it doesn't. What else? I'm trying to think of some of like the worst ones that I've heard that I've just been like, that does not do anything for me at all. Hopefully they'll come to me as I go along, but you probably have ones that come into your head immediately that people have said about food or weight or exercise, and you're just like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I love food. I just love food. The thing is that food, and I guess I'm kind of transitioning now. That was all the drama, and now we're like moving forward, I guess. I think I included everything necessary to kind of lay the groundwork, hopefully. Anyway, food cliches are only so helpful because it sounds good. It sounds like it makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, you're right. You know, I shouldn't eat this. I shouldn't do that. I should do the healthier choice. I should make the healthier choice. But food is like, it's a drug, really. Like, it's not just sustenance anymore. And I think that's part of what we ignore or forget, is like, food is art, and it is fun, and it's about taste. It is not, in today's day and age, about energy. It's not about calories in versus calories out. It's not about survival. It's not about preparing your body for a task or staying conditioned for a task. Food is pleasure now. Food is accessible, legal, usually affordable pleasure. I can go to the gas station right now and get 12 honey buns for like $5. Like thousands of calories of honey buns for like $5. So when you look at food through that lens and you think of it as like just something you enjoy, that's fine. I mean, in a way it seems fine, right? You're not hurting anyone else, you know, you're not making fun of anyone, you're doing a solitary activity that only influences yourself, and should really only be your business. But I guess it doesn't really end up turning out to be just your business, because everyone else feels like they have the right to comment, and they do, and people are very unafraid and unashamed to tell you that you don't look good. So a lot of people like to hear that they do look good. It's like a confidence thing, and then when you hear all the time that you don't look good, and then you go through all the diets and you go through all the bull crap, at the end you're just like, you know what, I feel very strongly that being skinny is just not for me. I love food. I don't want to work out. I don't enjoy arugula, and I've never enjoyed a LaCroix. And I think that chocolate tastes better than broccoli, and I think that I would much rather eat a cake than, well, that's not even true. I'll eat a cake, and I'll eat fruit, and I'll eat everything else that you have to offer me that I like. Because that's what food becomes. It's just this pleasure center that you can visit anytime you want. To me, it's exactly the same as nicotine, sex, other drugs, any kind of like addictive thing that you can get involved with. This is that to me, and it's taken me a really long time to see it that way, to realize that like not all food is like that, but a lot of the food that we have access to now is like that. It's sugary junk, it's sweets, it's not good for you. And the first time that I really ever started trying to get healthy was when I was living in Virginia, and this was probably like 2013. was really unhappy, and I was really only probably like a little, like 10 pounds more than I am right now, which I just lost 10 pounds over the course of the last 3 weeks. So it's probably mainly water weight, but you've seen me as big as I was, is my point. I was really only around like 160, so I hadn't hit like my max like I was in high school, but I put on a little bit of weight, sure, but it bothered me. So I started working out like in earnest. I was going to a little gym and running 4 miles. I had to build up to it, but eventually it became a 4-mile run Saturdays and Sundays. I weightlifted at college at their gym. I was part of a weightlifting class, and then when I wasn't, I would go to the gym and just lift by myself, like 3 days a week. So I ended up getting pretty fit. I mean, I was pretty in shape for a little while there, and I felt really good, but it didn't work again. And I'm like, why can't I make this stick? Why do I always turn back to food? Like, it's so frustrating. And you know this if you're a part of this with me. Like, it's so hard to struggle with this every day, especially if you're like me and you think about eating all the time. It's really, really hard. And for me, when I lose weight, if I had a certain point, like number wise with my weight, I actually notice physically that I start craving food less, thinking about food less. So this is what I'm talking about. This is a drug. You eat this stuff that tastes so good, and it sends these chemicals around in your brain and makes you think like, okay, that was good. I want to do that again. And you might not even be conscious of that. I wasn't. I definitely wasn't. I would just eat the next thing because I felt like I was ready. My brain was telling me I was hungry, when really what it meant was you want more of that good druggy nectar. Eat more peanut M&Ms, eat more ho-hos and whatever, because that's what my little depressed brain wanted me to do, to spike up my endorphins and my feel-good, like little center that doesn't light up adequately on its own. So you might be in that same boat. And if you're depressed, if you're overweight because you're depressed, if it's been like a cycle like mine where you start off, one way and it just kind of rolls into itself over and over again, it's frustrating, it's saddening, it's upsetting, but you have to start realizing that like you're going through withdrawal essentially when that happens. Our bodies don't need that much. Like a month and a half or so ago, when I was eating a lot, and then again also around this time last year, really November, December of last year, I started getting really sick, and it was mainly just because I was overeating. I was eating too much mindlessly, and it was physically making me ill. For the first time in my life, I used to just be able to eat and eat and eat and eat, and it always felt good. But now I was eating so much that I felt sick, and I was getting sick. I was throwing up and having all kinds of intestinal troubles because I was eating all this food that's not good for my body. And especially as someone who's autistic, we have 8,000 more like rules that we should follow to keep ourselves in, peak healthy performance. So it's a lot, and I get it. I understand that it's a lot, and I know that we're not all equipped with the information. I sure as hell wasn't, and I'm still learning as I go along. And there's been a couple times in my life where I thought I had it all figured out, and I didn't. And I think the main reasons are like the things that I'm telling you now. I think the number one influencer on me being able to change my perspective towards food just recently, I swear just recently, has been learning that I need to do this for myself. And I know that that's the oldest cliche in the book, so, you know, here I am bashing all this other stuff. And then I use a cliche, but again, that doesn't mean what I thought it meant. Every single time in the past that I've lost weight, it's been with the goal of making other people tell me I look good or support me. I've wanted to be accepted by groups. I've wanted my boyfriend at the time to be attracted to me. I've wanted my parents not to look down on me, all that kind of stuff. So every time that I've tried to lose weight or get in shape or be active or whatever, I'm always doing it with the expectation that at the end someone is gonna come to me and be like, girl, you look great, here's $1 million, you did the damn thing, now, you know, be this way for the rest of your life. And that's just not how it works. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, I would say, in my experience, no one's ever gonna give a damn as much as you want them to. And even if they do, they are never going to be able to make you feel good about yourself on the inside. Nobody except for you is going to be able to be okay with yourself. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I don't like my body. Like, I don't dislike my body. I appreciate my body. I'm thankful that I have all of my fingers and toes and I can walk and run and, you know, all the things that I can do, I'm happy about. There's a lot of things my body can't do or has trouble with that I get frustrated by. But in general, I have a pretty, you know, good body. I'm thankful for it. However big it might be, it does the job. It gets me around. It's a good thing for me. But my body is separate from my personality. And my personality is what I consider myself. And I consider my mind, my heart, and my body to all be separate from me. And this is what has worked for me. And it might be so stupid to somebody else, but my point is that you need to find the thing that works for you. So the first step is to acknowledge whether or not you like your body. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. When I look down, I get upset because when I look at a girl and I think, damn, she looks good, there are certain things that she's gonna have that I am attracted to. I think it's, you know, sexy or hot to look a certain way. That's my opinion. So since I think that's like the pinnacle of hotness, unless I look like that, why would I find myself to be, you know what I mean? Like, if you're convinced in your head that what you believe is true about yourself, then it's gonna take something big to change that. You're not gonna just all of a sudden feel differently. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I kind of lost where I was going with that, unfortunately, which is upsetting. Hopefully it'll come back to me. This is just that important of a topic to me because I just feel truly bad for everyone else too who's struggling with their body image and feels like they don't know why or they don't know how to stop it. As I was kind of talking about earlier, and I'll come back to step 1, step 2 and all that, but as I was talking about a little bit earlier, you know, there's all this body positivity stuff, and like you see, you know, some Instagram accounts that have gotten really popular because they're pictures of non-thin, non-tiny women, like average size to larger women who are just being themselves, and everyone's like, yeah, like you rock. And then other people are like leeching off of that to be like, well, she feels good about herself at that weight, so I'm gonna feel good about myself at this weight. And if that's something you can do and it really means something to you, great. That's great. But I feel like in reality, for most of us, when we find external inspiration for our bodies and we're a true food addict, someone who really loves food and someone who suffers with also with, mental health too, especially. You've got like the double whammy, just like me, you've got extra issues that are making this harder than it even needs to be. I have an addictive personality with everything. When I did drugs, I did all of the drugs. When I eat all of the food. When I smoked cigarettes, I smoked 2 packs a day of Newport 100s every single day. I don't do stuff in moderation if it's addictive. And it's the same thing with food, 1,000%, and always has been. I've just never looked at it that way. It's always been so easy for me to see food as like a reward. Like, okay, I did a good thing, I'm gonna eat a cupcake, and then that's gonna make me feel good, and I'm gonna feel good about the fact that I did the good thing. But then the next day when I realize that I've got, more weight on my stomach, I'm like, crap, why did I eat that cupcake? But at the time it felt good. So I think that those thought patterns will just continue to come back and bite you in the ass unless you stop with the external and go to the inside for this one. You have to like your body, period. Not a man, not a woman, not a child, not God himself. Well, I can't really say for that. I shouldn't say that, but no one human on this earth, no other thing, person, whatever, can make you feel good about how you feel about yourself. Unless you really do. People can say compliments all day long and make you feel good momentarily, but then what happens when you're by yourself at night and you're alone and the depression comes on, or you're watching your TV show, or you're in your routine that you're used to, and you want that hot chocolate, you want that coffee, you want that donut, you want those pretzel rods because they're what you are used to in that moment, and they're what brings you comfort. It's not just about the joy, even though there is joy, certainly. Like I said, eating has become a pleasurable thing. You meet up with people you care about, and you eat good food that makes your brain happy. So we have all these positive associations with like stuffing our face, and all these negative associations with being overweight, and being not super duper fit, I guess. Just any version of body type that isn't on the approved list at that moment. It seems like any body type that has meat on it in normal places, that most people who don't have access to plastic surgery and trainers and implants and all that, most people are going to be in the same boat of feeling like they never see their body type out there. And for me now, people might look at me and say like, oh, you're kind of skinny, whatever. It's on the thinner side. And some people might not feel that way. Some people might still think I'm fat. I've never permanently changed a single thing about how I feel about my body because of someone else's words. Even when the first time that someone pointed out to me, like my best friend / partner, he's the first person who really was like, damn girl, you've got really nice legs, and made me feel really good about having these thicker legs. And now I feel really good about them, and I am happy, and I feel strong and sexy for my legs and for my butt. But the only reason why I was able to be jump started by what he said was because when I look at my legs and my butt, I personally am like, you know what, that looks pretty good. He might have had to point it out to me, but in my heart I truly believe that. That's my opinion too. I just had never really engaged with that opinion before because no one had said that was a good thing, and I had all that input in my head about nothing about me is good. So I was just like, whatever, I can't possibly have something good. But no, he says to me like, hey, he's really attractive towards like the beginning. He still says stuff to me now, even in limbo, even during, you know, times that we haven't been like really closer together. You know, that's always been something that he's been positive about towards me. And that wouldn't mean anything if I didn't feel good when I look down or when I look in the mirror. And that's how I feel about like some other parts of my body. You know, I wish my boobs were a little bit different. I wish my stomach, that's the main thing for me, is having a flat stomach. I've always wanted that. I've wanted that my entire life. Since 5th grade, when I started getting called fat, I've wanted a cut, not 6-pack, but just like, you know, soft Victoria's Secret kind of like sexy, little bit of abs, flat stomach. And have I ever in my life had that, even at my most fit? No, I haven't. And as an adult, I mean, I haven't. As a kid, obviously I did. I just didn't appreciate it because I was a freaking child, you know. And now that I'm older and I want to feel good about my body, and I want to be able to go out in public and think that nobody's looking at me for a bad reason, nobody's making fun of me, nobody's pointing me out, and saying haha kind of thing. And maybe they still will for other stuff, and that's fine, but in my head, I'm not gonna have that following me around all the time, that I can't wear shorts because I'm too fat, or that I can't, you know, be myself, essentially, because someone out there is going to see myself and think, you know, gross girl, don't do that. So I hate that for me, I hate that for you, I hate that for all of us. But the fact is that this is our culture in America. Probably if you live in a different country, it's probably similar. I think you'd have to go to more remote areas that aren't like inundated with social media and TV and celebrities and the royals and the, you know, all of this crazy stuff that we follow along and use to set our standards. I think you'd have to go beyond that to find people who don't have these stigmas stuck in their head about who they have to be or what they have to look like to be accepted, or to be sexy, to be beautiful, to be hot. So, I mean, do I think that I look heinous right now? No. I don't have any makeup on, and I'm in a t-shirt. I'm not dressed up or anything like that. But in terms of like my body, I don't look at my body and be like, oh my god, like I just want to die because I'm so overweight and it's tragic. But I do look at myself now and I think, you know what, I want to do better than this. I want to see what that's like for myself. I want to look down and see a version of the body that I want. Obviously I don't know how mine will look because that's my thing, and I've never been that small. So everyone's actual like bone structure and genetics kind of play a part in how you can actually look. Just people's like stomachs and legs and everything look different, even if they're equally as toned or athletic. Some people have like really broad hips and a narrow waist, and some people are more straight up and down, different size boobs, butt, all that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of different options for how I might look when I'm at a place where I feel happy about myself. But at least I'll look down or in the mirror and be like, alright, you know, this is what I wanted, and this is how I've always wanted to look, this is how I've always wanted to feel. I only get the opportunity to try to look and feel like this once. I might as well try it all the way. And you know what, if I get fit and hate it and I'm like, oh my god, you know what, it's not worth it, then okay, fine. But part of me feels like that's not gonna happen, because already anytime you make an actual effort towards fitness, it only takes, I would say, like 1.5 to 2 weeks before you're so immersed in what you've been doing and your body starts making these little changes. Your taste buds change, your cravings change, your thought processes change. Small things that you might not really notice in the moment, but it really only takes a couple of weeks, and then you're like this whole nother person who's capable of more and has a different outlook. So this time around, I haven't talked to anybody, and not even Rich, not anyone, about what I'm doing. This is the first time I'm talking about it, and part of the reason why I feel okay talking about it is because I know that I'm not going to be forced to have any like one-on-one conversations about it. And even though I don't mind that, I don't mind giving advice, I don't mind talking about health and fitness, I don't want to go out there and say to somebody else, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. Because all that does is, again, make it about the other person. You need to never make it about the other person. If you're losing weight and you're in a relationship, you don't even have to tell the other person. You make the choices that you want to make for yourself, and don't let anyone into that bubble with you. This has to be a solo adventure. You cannot do this with another person and have it be a fully successful transformation for yourself. You can work out with people, you can talk to people, you can get advice from people, and I recommend that you do form some kind of community of fitness. I'm lucky that Rich is a big fitness person because he can provide all of that outlet for me if and when I need it. But in general, I really don't even want him in on this, because I feel like I'm gonna then start expecting for him to notice my little victories, and I'm gonna expect for him to say to me, hey V, you look really good, like what have you been doing? Or, I've noticed that you blah blah blah. If he does that now, when I haven't been talking to him about it, that'll make me feel really good. Probably better than if I had told him, because I know that it's not a solicited comment at that point. He's saying something because he really believes it and feels it. And that's how you have to think about everyone in your life too. If they want to say something to you, eventually they will. If they notice something different about you, they'll say something. People don't go lightly when other people lose weight. They'll say it. You can see somebody for the first time in 10 years and they'll be like, oh my god, you lost a lot of weight. And you're just like, is that all you think about when you think about me? Yeah, okay, cool, thanks. But I think that it's a very dangerous line between going to someone and being like, here's my plan, here's what I'm gonna do, whatever you think that's gonna give you accountability. But for someone like me, all it really does is add like an extra layer of judgment, because I start thinking like, oh no, I said I wasn't gonna eat this and I'm eating it. That person's gonna think less of me. Now I have to think less of myself, and it just becomes like a whole huge chain of disappointment that you really created by giving someone else expectations about your journey. Just don't even go there. This is your thing and your time, and you're doing it for you. You're doing it because you want to see something different about yourself. And if you don't want to see something different about yourself, then stop worrying about food. Stop caring so much. Don't obsess over it. I don't know if any of you are like me in this way either, but I weigh myself every day. It's one of the first things I do in the morning. I have anxiety about it as soon as I wake up. I need to go step on the scale to see if I gained weight, lost weight, whatever. It's a terrible habit that I am working to break, and it stems from my obsession with gaining and losing weight over the last 20 years. I guess 19 years really. But literally, over the last like 20 years, this has just kind of been like on repeat of a cycle for me of losing, gaining, feeling bad, feeling good, feeling the worst I've ever felt, wanting to die, and then feeling like I'm fit and healthy and active and this like, worthwhile human being. It's crazy how much power eating can have over us when it's not supposed to even be. It's not supposed to be a pleasurable activity, really. Food is good, but it's sustenance. It's what you eat to refuel your body or give it energy to think or to run or to do whatever you need to do. There are foods that are good for different attributes of your mental cognition, and this is part of the reason why the Atkins and the South Beach diet, or maybe it was Atkins then and it's paleo now. Either way, the whole meat only carbless thing, I mean, yes, you will still, if you are a well-rounded eater, it can be good, and you can still get plenty of carbs, good carbs for your brain through fruit and other foods that are healthy. But let's face it, most people who are going on that paleo Atkins type diet are strongly overweight, and they're probably eating a lot of crap. So yeah, if you take out pastries, the whole category of breads, bagels, muffins, honey buns, all the crap that I love to binge eat, and all that comforty like bread type sweet and whatever stuff that's available, of course, if you cut all of that out, you're gonna lose weight. Point being that those things are worth a lot of calories, which brings me to kind of the next step. So step one is figuring out what body type you like and whether or not you personally like your own body type, so that you have like a goal or just a grounding point that is centered within your own self, your own thoughts, and your own beliefs about your body, which is what matters and will bring you that happiness if you want it. If that's step one, then step two is to understand that it's really simple when it comes down to it if you want to lose weight. Obviously, there are medical, outliers that I can't speak for, and diseases and things that I don't have expertise in to give advice about. But for the average person, which is most of us, so don't sit there and tell yourself that you have reasons. I'm the queen of making excuses over the years when it comes to my weight, and at the time I convinced myself that I'm not really making an excuse, but it's all really simple in the end. If you really do want to lose that weight, honestly, don't even start with any exercise. Forget that part. Walk or something if you want, but don't just jump straight into like hardcore workout videos if that's not something you do, because you're just gonna get discouraged and feel like you can't do it. It takes time. Gaining weight so fast. You can eat so many calories in a day and not even realize it, and be like, oh, okay, I feel fine, and maybe you do feel fine, but the sugars and things that maybe aren't affecting you are affecting your body. So in the end, it's all about calories in and calories out in terms of simple weight loss, and you can do this at any weight, without any exercise. Is just to start counting or keeping track of your calories. Just start paying attention to how many calories are in things, and realize what things seem like they would have a lot of calories and don't, or what things have more calories than you thought. Your body for your size is only supposed to, or only needs to, I should say, take in a certain amount of energy through calories each day to accomplish whatever tasks you want to accomplish. So my body, for example, at the height that I'm at the weight that I want to be, not that it's about weight, but just like relatively speaking, the weight that I want to be, plus or minus some weight for muscle or however my body develops, the rough area around that I want to be at, I, at my height and my weight, can eat about 1,250 calories per day. And that is not a lot, in my opinion, because I'm someone who's used to eating a crap load of food. So I'm in the process still of teaching myself, like, this is all you need. And eating all of that other stuff might temporarily feel and taste good, and it is good. There's no denying that. I hate it when people try to sit here and say that food's not that good. It is that good. It's delicious, and there's scientific fact that it triggers these chemicals in your brain that make you want to eat more and make you feel really, really, really good. So this isn't just like my little whatever. It's hard. I mean, I was a really hardcore smoker, like I told you, and I have tried to quit smoking, and I've tried to quit eating like a lot of sugary, unhealthy stuff. And let me tell you, I quit smoking successfully. It took time, and it was hard, and I cried and whined and complained, and I vaped, and I did patches, and all of that stuff. But in the end, I was able to quit because I have enough, I guess, awareness of like how bad it is for me. It smells, it doesn't taste good like to, other people. It's not like something that makes you particularly comfortable to be around for people who don't like that or that smell, and it's killing you and the people around you. And that just seems so clear. You can develop cancer, you can have all these host of things happen with your breathing, your lungs, So when you hear and see all that, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, this really isn't good for me. But food's equally bad for you when it comes to certain foods. Processed, crappy, sugary shit. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't eat it. Obviously, I have eaten a lot of it in the past. Currently, it's been since like 2013 or 14 since I've had a soda or anything to drink really other than soy milk or water, or smoothie. That's it. I don't drink carbonated beverages anymore, and I don't drink power drinks anymore because they're loaded with sugar. Again, everything in moderation. Even if I get 1,250 calories in a day, I don't want to eat garbage that's worth 1,250 calories because number one, it's not going to be that much food. Number two, it's not going to keep me full for very long. And number three, like, it's going to make me put on weight. It's not healthy to eat. Even if I'm hitting my right calories, it's not actually going to make me put on weight if I'm calorically doing the math right. But for my body, it's not going to make me have the figure, the flat stomach, the athleticism that I want, because those things don't fuel that. Sugar and candy does not fuel athleticism and having a nice body. Good food, the good food that's good for you, does that. And honestly, like, your taste buds change. It might take a couple weeks, and at first you're definitely gonna miss things, sodas, candy, stuff like that. But after a couple weeks, natural things taste literally just as good, if not better, than the processed thing. I can't stand soda anymore, and I used to love it. Now, if I have a single sip, I get sick. Just a tiny little sip upsets my whole system. I can't stand it. Same thing has happened to me with a number of other foods that I've just cut out if I decided that, you know what, these aren't worth it to me, they're not worth the calories, I'm just not going to eat them anymore. Like chips, I never really reach for a bag of chips anymore. There was a time that was like my go-to thing, but one year I just decided I was going to stop eating them, and I haven't cared that much. I've had chips since then, and I do love plenty of chips still, but they're not like an obsession for me anymore, because I fulfill that desire for salty or whatever taste that I want with other things that are healthier and fulfill the same like need that the chemicals in your body and brain are looking for, just in a healthier way. So it might suck to turn your nose up at a lot of the stuff that is delicious and good, but over time your body will thank you for it, and you will start really appreciating the flavors and tastes of fruits and vegetables and nut butters and all kinds of things that are more natural, better for you, healthier for you. So I guess I didn't realize how long I've been talking. It's been a really long time, so I don't want to, I mean, it's a ASMR video, so hopefully you're just like drowsy or sleeping. 98% of you are probably still not even here anymore, and that's fine. But for the 2 of you that this matters to, I would just say, be okay with the fact that it's not gonna go great. You're gonna screw up, and you're gonna have a day where you eat the thing that you knew you shouldn't have eaten, and you're gonna gain a pound one day when you worked really hard the day before, and that's just life. Like, your body isn't a perfect machine, but the better you treat it, you will see results. And even though putting on weight takes no time at all, taking it off, you are burning thousands of calories just to lose a pound. I mean, thousands. It's a lot of work, and that's why I say just start by focusing on your diet, and don't think of it as a diet. It's not a diet. You just start focusing on what foods feel good, taste good, and are good for your body. Start looking at calories. Just take the information in without expectations. Don't tell yourself that today's the day you're going to start, and in 2 months you're going to look amazing. You're probably not, because it's going to take me another probably year to get where I want to be, and I've already been going, for years already. But from here out, it's just a different part. It's a new part. It's a better part where I am acknowledging the fact that some food is bad for you and does harm you. And even if you exercise all the time, if you eat crap, your body is still not going to shape out the way that you want it to. And I know, trust me, I know how hard it is to let go of this stuff, and I know how easy it is to make excuses for yourself, and especially if you're someone like me who eats for comfort and to feel better. Sometimes even when I'm physically sick, I start craving junk food, and if I eat it, it really does make me feel better, but it's not making my intestines healthier. It's just giving me a little bit of that extra dopamine or whatever to make me think, oh, you know what, I'm fine. So it's all tricks. Your brain is constantly just wanting that drug, that thing that makes it feel good. But this is separate from you and the reactions and all of the science that's happening under your skull, in your mind. There's so much of it that we don't have the ability to control. course you're allowed to have a slice of cake. Look at how hard you worked. That's not how it goes. That's not it at all. It's numbers. If you eat more calories than your allotted amount for that day, and you don't exercise, however much excess you ate. So if I'm only allowed to have 1250 a day, and I eat 1600 one day, those extra calories are just sticking on me somewhere. So like even having that one little pack of M&Ms at 300 calories, that's a lot of weight, you know, to get stuck with one day for no reason. And if you do that little bit every day and just say it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, then you'll be like, what the heck? I'm doing everything that I should be doing right. I'm exercising, I'm dieting, I'm eating healthy, whatever. But you're exceeding your calories when you have that, you know, extra chocolate square at night or whatever. And it can really throw you off. So when it comes to putting on weight, a little bit goes a long way. When it comes to taking off weight, a little bit goes nowhere. Don't convince yourself that you've done good, because it's not over until it's over. You have not done well enough yet. And you know, I'm just gonna, at the same time, I'm gonna be hard on myself, but on the days that I screw up, I'm not gonna be hard on myself, because I'm being hard on myself already all the time. If I make a mistake, or if I have something I feel like I regret, or I treat myself like really out of the blue, not very often, if something like that were to happen, I'm not gonna get bent out of shape about it. But at the same time, I don't even really want to eat crap anymore. Like, I think about having even just like frozen yogurt or something, and I'm like, God, that's so heavy and thick, and like, if I eat that, then that means that all the work that I did is not really gonna, you know, I don't have the calories for that, never mind. Or, you know what, I only have calories for a really small one, so I'm just gonna make a really small one. Fine, but just be honest with yourself. That's the number one thing. Don't tell yourself that like, oh, I'm too big, I'm too sweaty, I'm too uncoordinated, I don't have the willpower, I'm not smart enough. Like, I've said all of these things to myself before, convincing myself that I didn't have what it takes to be athletic, coordinated, fit, in shape, or worth looking at. And honestly, I get really uncomfortable when other people look at me anyway. I don't like really being hit on or anything, just because I don't like the social aspect of that. So it's, again, this is just like another positive thing, is that it's not about that. It's not about other people's opinion. It's about me. When I look at myself, do I look at myself and think, like, damn, you look good? Or do I look at myself and think, God, I wish that this was different? I'm tired of looking at myself and thinking, God, I wish this was different. And I guess I've just hit that wall again, but in a more educated way this time, and with more knowledge and motivation at my disposal. And my last just little tip would be to motivate yourself with the things that inspire you. Look at pictures of girls' bodies who you like every day if you need to. Look, like, make your background on your computer fit inspiration. Do the things that you need to do to keep yourself in that state of mind of being like a boss, and that you're just so here and so you and so now, and have that like energy of just like whatever, and just go with it. I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself though, and you need to get real about it, like I'm trying to. think of weight as this thing that you're fighting against. You're just making the decisions that put you where you want to be. And wherever you want to be is fine. It's completely up to you. And there's no judgment on that. Just make your decision and go through with it. Don't complain about it. Or don't go through with it. Either way, don't complain. Yeah, okay. So I hope you guys have a great night's sleep or a great day, or if you're working, I hope this was good background, a little bit of confidence and inspiration. If you guys need to talk about anything,